All right, so all too soon, it's a Friday morning, and of course, this is the Dialogue, your favorite current affairs program that comes your way every Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. with a repeat on Saturdays and also on Sundays at 11 p.m. My name is Randy Ahadzi. This morning, we've got two major things to take a look at. One, if you have been following the media space lately, you will realize that our brothers and sisters far away in South Africa have come under some sort of attacks, what we know as some xenophobic attacks as well. It's just not on Ghanaians, but some other West African nationals and foreign nationals precisely. But our foreign minister has been speaking on that particular one. It's a conversation that we should be having this morning on the Dialogue. And also the big one that's been trending for a while now, and if you recall also last week or so, the High Court ruled that indeed, let me just summarize that, the Office of the Special Prosecutor ought to get some authorization from the Attorney General for any case that is going to be prosecuted by them or handled by them. It has brought some sort of debates, controversies here and there. Minority waded into the conversation, and also some 12 CSOs have joined in all of this whole debate. The CSOs are petitioning, and they feel that that particular ruling by the High Court does not inure to the benefit of many Ghanaians, and to a large extent the fight against graft will be far from reach if indeed we should uphold what the High Court has said. And they also argue on some key elements or issues. I'll be displaying all of that pretty shortly on the screens for you to follow as well. So join the conversation on all our social media platforms. You are invited to send us a text via WhatsApp number 055-269-7939. My guests are ready for this morning's edition of the Dialogue. But before then, we'll take a quick breather. When we return, I'll introduce them, and then we can set the ball rolling right here on the Dialogue. Stay with me.
Gentlemen, I've got some bad news and some good news. Okay, the bad news is that your chances of getting prostate cancer are now just 7 to 1. In fact, prostate cancer is killing one man every single hour of the day in this country. Imagine that, one every hour of the day. But the good news is, we're forming a team to stop that clock. Men United. It's time men united together to fight prostate cancer, the way women have united against breast cancer. We need to get together and find a cure, as well as better ways to care for the 250,000 prostate cancer sufferers out there. Please, get on side and join us in the fight. Men United versus prostate cancer. We can win this.
Your flight is ready to leave.
Sit back and relax and enjoy the flight.
All right, so welcome back. Many thanks for still staying with us right here on WoezorTV. Remember, this is the dialogue, and as I intimated, two things on our dialogue table for discussion. One, we delve deeper into what's happening far away in South Africa. What does this really mean to that agenda of a united Africa? We have seen some disturbing viral video where some persons were captured beating or attacking some other foreign nationals or West African nationals in South Africa. Well, it has been widely condemned by a lot of people. Back here at home, the foreign minister waded into it, gave some cautions, and plans are underway to ensure that Ghanaians are staying safe far away in South Africa. Is one of the conversations that we'll be having this morning. The other one also has to do with the fact that the debates, the controversy, the conversation is still ongoing as far as the OSP versus the Attorney General is concerned. I mentioned earlier that if you recall the ruling by a high court that indeed to a large extent the OSP or the special prosecutor ought to get some authorization from the Attorney General, and they mentioned that it is actually part of the Constitution. The other argument that the CSOs raise has to do with the fact that there is also an ally that backs the work of the OSP. So it looks as if it's still a tussle between the OSP and also the Attorney General. But the major thing for us to take a look at is the fight against corruption. Does this really affect that particular fight? What must be done in the coming days? 12 CSOs, they have signed a particular petition. We will interrogate all of that right here on the show. But we'll start off with the xenophobic attacks ongoing. That has happened in South Africa. And this is not the first time that has happened. How do we ensure that that ends? Remember, there is that agenda to promote a united Africa. Will this hamper the chances of having that particular agenda come to fruition? It's a conversation let's have. Feel free to send your messages via WhatsApp number 055-269-7939. And if you are watching via all our social media platforms, you are encouraged to drop your messages under any of the broadcasts. It's my responsibility to read them out loud and clear. Let me introduce my guest quickly. Shandolph Opoku Bright Boama is a member of the New Patriotic Party communications team. He is right here with us in studio. Bright, good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
I hope all is well.
Yes, I'm very
How has your week been?
It's been very good. It's been engaging, as a communicator, your work, and one that is in opposition, you would have to do some media engagement here and there, speaking for the party and also commenting on national issues. And yeah, that is what I've been doing. My week has been very, very busy. But yes, like we always say, for God and country, once you have breath and we have life, we take the opportunity to also contribute to our national discourse. And yes, let me say a very good morning to the MPP fraternity, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, flag bearer, and also my boss, Dr. Paragraph Bachedankwa.
Well, before we even take a look at the main conversations on the table, how is preparations going with the NPP internal elections?
Yes, so we are ongoing. Our activities are ongoing, and we are preparing to have our polling station elections, to come up. And I think there's a rundown of activities from tomorrow, 25th of April to 30th. There's going to be the vetting of aspirants. Yes, that is going to happen then across various polling stations and also our various areas that we represent. So there's going to be that vetting of aspirants, and also between 1st to 4th of May, we are going to have the opportunity to hear some appeals if people have issues and all of that. There's going to be that kind of panel to listen to grievances, and also let's be able to settle one or two issues before the main elections kicks off. And also between 6th to 9th of May, there's going to be the notice of polls across the various polling stations in this country. And from 10th to 11th, the polling station elections of the executive starts. So that is what we are beginning with, and like we've intimated across various platforms, that is going to start from the polling stations. Then we move on to the electoral area. We go to the constituencies. We also go to region, and yes, national in that regard. So that is what we are doing at various places. And I think somewhere last week, a committee was inaugurated to help with also drafting the kind of roles that each executive is going to play in accordance with our party's constitution. That's when members are elected, and also various officers that are going to be by way of appointment, what specific roles each person is going to play. And yes, that committee too has been inaugurated. Persons like the Dr. Obi Amor, amongst others, were part of that committee. And yes, it's also to help revamp our base. And in this reorganization structure or approach that we're embarking on, we believe that the NPP come 2028 should be poised for victory.
Okay, very well. Shandov, let's jump into the very first conversation. Hopefully, we expecting Geoffrey Okanse to also join us here in studio. He belongs to the CSO fraternity. Of course, let's find out from him what his outfit also thinks about this whole petition that was, signed by 12 CSOs with regards to the OSP versus Attorney General's brouhaha. Hopefully he joins. We're also expecting Justice Abdullahi, who is a private legal practitioner, to also join the conversation in a jiffy. But Bright, let's get into the attacks happening in South Africa. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. It has always been like that for a while. First, your initial reactions to what we saw, the viral video. Maybe we can put it out on the screen as well.
Yes, a good morning to your viewers as well, and everybody who is taking time to watch WoezorTV this morning. Randy, I think, let me be quick to add that last week was the chairman's birthday of, that is the deputy chief of staff, yes. Say, happy belated birthday. I told you guys to wish him for me. I don't know whether you guys did that, but yes, I'm here to wish him happy birthday. And also today is, today or yesterday was the birthday of the chief of staff himself, yes.
Today.
Mr. Julius Debra, Dr. Julius Debra, a good morning to you, sir, and a happy birthday, yes. Randy, it's very sad what is happening in South Africa. I mean, as African brothers, one would expect that we live in cohesion, we live in unity and harmony, we live as brothers, one that look out for each other, and also with one common goal towards making Africa a prosperous continent, and also with our shared values, we'll be able to coexist. But it appears that the situation in South Africa is different, and like you rightly said, this is not the first time it's having a mention. It's been happening almost every year, more of like a seasonal something that comes up. 2 years ago and somewhere last year, it was our brother Nigerians, our brothers Nigerians who were targeted in this way. And in fact, across various media channels, not only in Ghana, but even Africa, there were lots of condemnation, and also people, talking about some of these things and hoping that we see a halt at this. And I think that it is high time we paid attention to what is happening in South Africa. Because you see, like you already said, these xenophobic attacks didn't just start today. It started somewhere around 1994. And how many decades now? It's been happening over the period, almost 3 decades, and it's been going on. And you see, I think, in as much as we actually share in the sentiment of South Africa, and because of their history, almost every African country, one way or the other, was colonized. But then we understand the peculiar situation when it comes to South Africa because of the segregation, the apartheid regime that happened during their time. DS were quite different in a way, so we understand the extent at which the effects is having on them, psychologically, emotionally, and all of that. But having said that, I think that do not warrant them to go on this tangent of constantly abusing people, that reckless attack on foreign nationals. I think like it's uncalled for. No amount of justification can be, can explain this. That what reason whatsoever that they give, justifies such, action. And what they need to remember is that in the fight, for this apartheid regime to end in South Africa, South Africans should be reminded that it was not only due to what they did. Africans all over this African continent and the world helped in their attaining their
So it wasn't
freedom.
a South African fight. It was a fight for the entire
It was
African.
in fact, Kwame Nkrumah, like we always know, had made that assertion that the independence that Ghana had enjoyed or was enjoying there would be totally meaningless if it is not connected to the total liberation of the African continent. And that statement even today is too profound. And what did it mean practically? It meant that every African country had to come together to help South Africa come out of the woods. And you could remember at that time, some South Africa could not even travel, on their own and all of that. Ghana had to assist them for them to use the Ghanaian passports. That was one contribution that we did for them. In fact, Nelson Mandela used to come to this country, and Kwame Nkrumah, gave monies to them. In fact, the ANC, to help them in the fight against the apartheid regime. We can talk of Nigeria, where they also made some economic contributions to them. These are among some, these are some few that I can mention amongst the lots of contributions that some African country made towards South Africa in their fight against the apartheid regime. So one would think that a country who really know their history in this regard shouldn't go on this tangent. And I think South Africans, for me, I think they need to be that reorientation. Perhaps maybe the current political leaders have not taken upon themselves the responsibility of reorienting them of what the history was, so that they would inform their thinking going forward. I think they need to be that reorientation of what the contributions of African states were then, and how it has benefited them today.
Okay, but for me, I think that this whole thing raises a different fundamental issue. The lacuna that I'm looking at. Bright, should we start looking inward, a call to order that we can still make it? I mean, that's my layman's point of view. We can still make it right here in Ghana if we put our minds to it, and we have a very robust and a bouncing or a working economy. Why would I have to travel to South Africa for work or for greener pasture?
Yes, Randy, I understand that, and before I even come to that, I believe that when you look at the number of South Africans in this country, in fact, there's no way in the world that you can say, or the South Africans can say that they don't have their natives or their nationals there. In Ghana, yesterday I was reading some documents, and it's estimated that there are about more than 5,000 South Africans in this country. In fact, there are more South African businesses in this country that, even though we do not support the call for retaliation and all of that, but should you also go on that tangent, the number of South African businesses that is going to suffer. And in this country, almost every month, more than billions of dollars are sent out of this country due to the existence of South African business. And we can name some of them. We have MTN to be one of the major businesses in this country, and they are doing so well. In fact, the largest telco in this country, if I'm not mistaken. We have ShopRite here, we have Stanbic Bank, we have Game, we have Accra Breweries. They even have shares in Accra Breweries. And DSTV, that recently came under some, attacks and all of that. DSTV too works in this country, or that is a South African business here. If Ghanaians are to also go on this tangent of we also sacking their people in this country, I'm not sure they would be able to survive. And I'm very much aware that they also understand the effects that will bring on the economy, because all the money that they make here is being taken back home. So I think these are some of the things that for me, South African or their leaders need to understand and appreciate, and in that regard also explain to their people that this is the situation here, and whatever thing that they are doing there, it's not right. It needs to be condemned. In fact, yesterday I came across this particular video that you are showing here, and I was appalled. You see this harmless Ghanaian man standing there, bearing in the midst of about more than 15 South African and about more than 10 abled guys, and being subjected to this inhumane harassment. In fact, he's not even given the chance to even explain himself. One question here and there, everybody bombarding him. And you see the man, harmless, just standing there. In fact, I have always said that if he has to do with issues of maybe people renewing their permits and all of that, those things can be done, or we can find ways to do, especially now that we live in a digitalized world. There's no need for people to even walk to offices to go where have their resident permits or their business permits renewed, especially when you know that these there are some few South Africans who do not like to see foreign nationals there. Because one, Randy, if I do not want to see you live in my country and I need to go in person to have my permits done, I may not even turn up for you to even come there. And that is going to be the basis for me to say that yes, you don't even have your paperwork in check and all of that. I think the South African government can even digitalize the process, that wherever that you are in the country, stay at your house or be at your workplace and even renew your permits as and when it expires, and you think that there's a need for renewal. These are some of the things that could be done. And then I feel that there there are some things that the government should do, because across, for me, I am beginning to suspect that the South African government and authorities are behind this.
Well, how will you conclude by saying that? I mean, because we know the foreign minister summoned the ambassador here in Ghana, and of course he described, and to be sure, let's just watch that video from Honorable Bujetu Ablakwa. He made mention of the fact that, look, the people who are doing this are criminals, and I think that's how we need to treat them. It's not a case in isolation anyway, but how do you draw a conclusion and say that indeed the authorities are fully aware? But let's watch that video, what the foreign minister said in regard to all of that.
Condemnable to see that particularly West Africans have come under another round of xenophobic attacks in South Africa. And this time, Ghanaians have been targeted and other nationals from West Africa. Earlier today, I held a meeting with the Charge of the South African High Commission in Accra. Yesterday, I had a telephone conversation with my counterpart, the Foreign Minister of South Africa. And in all of those engagements, Ghana has strongly condemned the xenophobic attacks our nationals have come under. I acknowledge that our counterparts in South Africa have expressed regret, have assured us that there will be investigations and that they will take steps to nip this really condemnable and regrettable.
I mean, right, so there you had the Foreign Affairs Minister. I mean, he's mentioned it as it's supposed to be. Beyond just the talk, what actions ought to be taken to ensure that some of these things don't really happen? I mean, I don't know if we can be able to curtail it completely or eradicate it completely, but to ensure that it's minimal.
So I want to look at it like in two folds. The responsibilities of the South African government itself, and also African leaders, at large. One, I think that, like the Honorable Ablakwa said, if you'd really paid attention to the trajectory, anytime there are these incidents happening, it only takes the very heads of state of these nationals who have been harassed to first come and make comments before the South African government responds. That cannot be right. And we cannot always believe that, yes, that is your call to ensuring that everything is well. I think that if the South African government indeed mean business and they would want everybody across the world to believe that they are not behind some of these things, or they do not support the perpetrators of such acts, I think, one, they need to criminalize these xenophobic incidents, or anybody who incites some of these things. I think they need to criminalize it.
Yeah.
People who are identified to be meting out such brutalities should be arrested and brought to book. I think we shouldn't just come through the back doors of diplomacy and come and issue statements and also give assurances. When people die, what is the essence of assurance? When people lose their livelihoods, what is the essence of assurance? I think it just cannot be right, and we shouldn't end it at that point. The South African government should be able to enforce some laws against hate and all of you, especially in areas where some of these are corporations like is going on, like the Dudula area and the Durban area and all of that. I think we need to see they coming up with some laws to fight some of these things. People who start and you see clearly when you take a look at the incident, it is these people perpetrating such brutalities are in the minority.
Yeah.
So at least if
they can't outweigh the majority.
So if they really mean business, they can clamp down on that.
Because you have traced it back to some 3 decades.
Yes.
So it means that it has been happening over and over again. What measures have been put in place to ensure that this stops? Maybe that's where you are.
So that's what I'm saying. Now, one, this is the South African government. We need to see they do that so that they can buy back the confidence and the assurance of these African brothers. Because if African countries should also retaliate same, like I was mentioning, the business in South Africa. This is not something that I want to preach or we Ghanaians are even going to do. But if we should retaliate, the consequences they know would be there for them. And two, I think the AU states, for me, should fast track this AFCTA labor mobility. the protocols, I think that we should be able to enforce them, where we are going to see people, the free movement of people and also goods across the various, but especially in this time in age where we are calling for the borderless Africa. I think we need to make sure that member states take that kind of emergency, or let's say quick steps to domesticate some of these things. Because Andy, what would be the essence when we are calling for some of these borders Africa and free movement of goods around like the sub-region where people's life cannot be protected? People who travel to these countries cannot feel safe, especially now that even we all know that Ghana, South Africa have got this visa-free regime and all of that. What is the essence of it when our people travel to these countries and they are not protected? I think we need to enforce some of these things, and there should be laws to guide such acts, and so that such calls wouldn't just be hollow calls. We need to make sure that they are able to domesticate some of these things, and there are domestic rules and laws to prevent some of these acts, that people who engage in such brutalities, once they are found, will be brought to book. Because you see, somewhere last year when it was happening to Nigerians, I saw one video where in a hospital, these guys go to the hospital and now they announce that if you are not South African, even when you are on sick bed, come out. It cannot be done anywhere in this world.
Where does ECOWAS, AU, and all the other bodies or organizations come in? I mean, because again, back to the issue of when this whole thing started, you mentioned, so that's like clearly over 30 years or so that we've always experienced these xenophobic attacks. Where have they been? And with the recent one that we are seeing, what have been their reactions? What must they do as a body?
Yeah, so I think earlier, that was what I was trying to say, that especially now that we are calling for the borderless Africa thing, where free movement of persons and of goods is a call that is being, channeled through this period. I think we need to make sure that, one, there's some kind of emergency to support that call, and not just we making that call in a, as like in the air. We need to make sure that there are rules and there are regulations that prevent some of these things from happening. That in as much as we are making those calls for the free movement of people and trade, anybody who met some of these unwarranted and brutalities against foreign nationals, they are brought to book. I think we need to know people who have taken time and maybe they are lousing around, or the other member states who are not forthcoming with some of these arguments. I think we need to make sure that they are able to domesticate some of these things, where the AU will make sure that if there are reports like some of these things, clear evidence of such brutalities and recklessness being meted out to foreign nationals, those individuals are going to face the music. I think that is one thing that the AU should not just dance around, but then be very strong on, and should send a very strong signal to member states like in that regard. I think that is one of the things that we can do. And also the South African government themselves should be able to make sure that people in their country who are in the minority, because yes, like we already said, intelligence have been picked 3 decades ago, and some of these things keep happening. So they have no excuse to tell us that they do not foresee some of these things happening, and they have not taken steps to making sure that some of these things are prevented. Because you see, one of the narratives that they keep churning out is that there are no jobs, and there are no jobs, like in all of you. The MTN company in Ghana, which people work there? Isn't it Ghanaians? So if they feel that indeed there are no jobs, or maybe some foreign nationals are taking over jobs, which I do not even believe is true, because Randy, clearly, if in this country, if I go to seek for a job opportunity in a government agency, and let's say I go with a Nigerian, there is no way that the Nigerian is going to have that job done. That one I am about 60% assured. Just because I'm a Ghanaian, it puts me ahead of that. So I do not see that how can Nigerians and Ghanaians go to South Africa and they're able to take jobs from you. That narrative cannot be true. I think that the South African government should take upon themselves to be able to demystify some of these myths and present to them facts that the very narrative that they are peddling around, the data and the facts on the ground do not support that narrative. And clearly, when you look at some the foreign nationals who go there, these are people doing their own work, have their own shops, engage in this blading and all of you. Those are the things that they do. So I mean, I do not think that any foreign national go to South Africa and to take their jobs and all of that. The South African government needs to demystify some of these myths by presenting to them the fact that those narratives, there's no data that supports that. I think that is one thing that the South African government should do at this very instance. And all around Africa, and I think all over the world, countries would now have that assurance, or they will now believe that call for the South African government, because it cannot be that we constantly would come and issue statements and we just want to assure people. The assurance means nothing if preventive steps are not taken. It will just be normal rhetorics, and that is not what we need at this time.
Should arrests not be effected by now? I mean, we are not there, so we can't really ascertain if indeed those guys captured in the video were picked up, because clearly that's an assault.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I'm not sure as it stands now. In fact, if there were, the South African government should be able to show the world that this is what we've done so far. Like I was telling you earlier, that I've seen a video, or like I've seen videos where people go to the hospitals and they call out foreign nationals. That once you are not South African and either Nigerian or Ghanaian, come out, and in fact there are videos where police van is just outside of the hospital and they can do nothing about it. So some of these things, like, it's not as if we are now seeing it for the first time. Like we've said earlier, that it's been going on for more than 3 decades. And if till now the South African government is not taking steps to make some of these things prevented, I mean, it leaves room for people to speculate that perhaps they are even behind some of these attacks, and we believe that they are not. But in order for people to believe that they do not support this attack, we need to see practical measures in dealing with some of these things.
Okay, very well. So if you're just tuning in, remember this is the dialogue right here on yours truly, WoezorTV. Our first conversation is on the xenophobic attacks on some West African nationals in South Africa. The foreign minister, together with some other people, have vehemently, spoken against it. They have condemned this act. It's actually a barbaric act by these people, and he has described them as criminals. And that's why I'm calling that, look, it's a matter of urgency. These guys should be arrested, and whatever law that will deal with them ought to deal with them. Geoffrey Okanse Kabute has joined us here in studio. He is the Executive Director, Revenue Mobilization Africa, and the key reason why he is here is because of the next conversation anyway. But we'll touch briefly on this whole attacks happening in South Africa. Geoffrey, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
It's a Friday morning. Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm not doing fine.
Why?
I'm angered by the ungratefulness of the South Africans. And my brother was trying to be very diplomatic when he said that he doesn't want to believe their state. This is state motivated.
How can you say
backed.
That? How do you?
My brother, let me tell you. I said it is state motivated, state backed, and state encouraged. And enough is enough. Look, those who don't know history.
Why would you even say that? Why would you say?
Why would I say that? If the Ghanaians were robbing in that state, who will arrest them? If there's lawlessness in that country, who will arrest them? In which country did you go that citizens have to be asking you your immigration status? Please, let us not. You see, let me tell you what I heard my young brother Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa say that there is a diplomatic platform. He can speak like that. It is good for our image. But for me, you can't tell me when somebody is questioning somebody and threatening their life. You are telling me that what? Which of the South Africans? The one that came here, that our state monies were given to them. The one that came here crying. As a young man, when I was watching telly with my father, when I watched the white people shoot them like animals, I was angry. If there was a way of withdrawing sympathy or empathy, I'll withdraw it this morning.
And that is why we need to deal with the people who are involved. And Bright rightly mentioned it.
Oh, stop it,
the
brother.
People who are, hold on, Geoffrey. The people who are perpetuating this belong to the minority. It is not the larger populace who are perpetuating this.
Can I correct this? I've always said this on your studio. That you see, those who look on are part of the crime.
Okay.
Let us learn this lesson today. Those who look on for heinous crimes to be perpetuated and they turn a blind eye on it are part of it. In fact, their president is the first person to be blamed. He's the father of the state. You live in your house. You are the father in that house. Some other children came to play in your house. Your son is slapping one other child. And then you say you have not seen it or what? Or you don't know about it? Are you sure? I'm asking you, when you were a child, when you go and play at another place, in another house, are you left to chance? Are you not protected the same way the other children are protected? What are we doing here? Let's stop this joke. These are very careless, barbaric, inhuman, insensitive, ungrateful acts of a people that we supported. They were flying around with Ghanaian passport in the time.
Yeah.
We went to that extent of risking that one for them. Very ungrateful beings. Very uncivilized people in this 21st century. You do this. Look, you know one thing, the saddest part of it is that when it comes to civil rights activism, they try to get a place there.
Yeah.
Amanza, we were shouting with them. They are the ones. They are the ones. Have you watched Afina? Mm-hmm. You remember we were crying watching those movies?
Yeah.
We were with them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this unfortunate one, look, the way forward is that it is time to call them out. Look,
we've been calling them out for the past, in the last 30 days, or the 3 decades, as Bright mentioned. So it's something that they've been doing over and over
just
again.
Yesterday,
Joffrey, I asked about the bodies, the organizations that we have. You can talk about
the UN, the EU,
exactly, ECOWAS, all of them.
Stop it already. You see, I on this studio I've said it before. That's a club of gentlemen. For the AU, we have 53 seats or 52.
Yeah, 52, 53, yeah.
Yeah, that's a club of 53 gentlemen. You know, even they can't even call their fellow presidents out when they are doing things that are not even in sync with democracy. So I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. But for our president to lead, sacrifice, and put himself on that front and talk about reparations for all of us, and then the next morning, one of us is sacking everybody from their kitchen. And then they tell you you should go and fix your country. We all went to fix their country with them. And ungratefully, they are now telling us to go. We will go, but let South Africa know.
Is that call in the wrong direction?
Very wrong.
That go and fix your country.
We were even on the table talking about a borderless Africa.
I agree, but I'm saying that is an extensive one. But if you look internally, Geoffrey, if things are well, if
what are you calling South Africa? You are bordering. Some white people in their selfish interest brought lines between us. No, we are together. We are one people. But in the selfish interest of somebody, we said we were going to remove those borders to have a borderless Africa.
Yeah.
So we were moving. Some were even talking about an African passport, that we can all be together like the EU.
Have one currency.
Yeah. And have one currency and all. And this is the barbaric way. Who are they pointing their fingers to? You know, when we were little, maybe I'm the baby, and then he will pinch me, and then he'll tell me to give him power speed. Then you rather direct it to you. Yeah. When he was the one who pinched me, that's what is happening. The people who pinched you, have you seen the video of them trying to extend it to the white people, and they were giving good beatings? Yes, they know there's a force there. There's a white force there, and I stand to be corrected. But I hear they even migrated from Cameroon to where they are in recent. There's another video I saw. I pray it is not true. And then the gentleman was saying that he's a Zimbabwean, and that they have migrated from somewhere to that land, and now telling them the Southern Africans to leave the country. Okay. That aside, what I know is that we were crying for a borderless Africa. That's the agenda right now, to move towards a common currency, trade amongst ourselves, and come together. Look, it doesn't mean they are the only people who have committed this unfortunate situation. Ghana. There was a time we had issues with Nigeria. We asked them to leave. They also did the same to us. But let me tell you one thing. We learned lessons from it, and we moved on. These people, it has become a normal thing. Anytime they get frustrated, in fact, people have lost their lives. You are seeing the videos of the cities, but have you seen the videos from the ghettos?
Okay.
That's what we might not have been having some opportunity to see.
Okay.
And the high thing,
so we are just fortunate to see these
ones. But what about the other places?
Okay.
Where people are so angry? Look, the end of it is this is the end game. The end game is that either they decide through their president, we want to hear the voice. Because for me, at this point, that I've not heard their president apologize to anybody, their foreign affairs minister apologize to anybody, their home office people talking to anybody on public platforms for international viewers to cover and share with us. For now, the crime starts with the head to the tail. The president is a leader.
Very well. Thank you. Let's move to the next conversation. Let me welcome Justice Abdullah is a private legal practitioner. He has also been following keenly what we've been discussing. Rather unfortunately, he didn't join from the very beginning, but he's on now. I'll just take a bite from him on this whole xenophobic attacks ongoing in South Africa, and then we jump straight into the conversation on the OSP and the Attorney General. Good morning, Counsel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
Indeed, good morning. It's always a pleasure being here.
Very well. Counsel, just a quick reactions to the conversation we've been having for a while now with regards to what's happening in South Africa, the attacks being meted out to foreign nationals, especially some West African members in that country. What's your take on that?
Indeed, I think every time I hear or see xenophobia within our continent, I really shiver. And it is more shocking when it's coming from South Africa. Now, I say this particularly considering the significant role the African Union, in particular Ghana, played in the entire struggle for the abolition of apartheid in South Africa. The role of Ghana in that entire struggle can never be measured in economic terms. And so for a country, in fact, it got to a point in the 90s that one would even think that South Africans were even more Ghanaians than Ghanaians were. For those of you who were old enough, for instance, this is just on the side. I mean, Lucky Dubé at a point was more Ghanaian, for instance, than he was a South African. I mean, this is how close our ties were between Ghana and South Africa. And for a country like that, having come out of, if you like, the woods, and then the very first victim you think is the cause of your challenge is the very person who supported you during your struggling days. It's a betrayal of the entire brotherhood within the African blood and between humans, in fact, humanity generally. Because when the whites were beating the South Africans, were killing the South Africans, were literally maiming them, doing all that it took to make them feel insignificant, we were the ones who were behind them, supporting them. Nobody is asking for payment in return for those support. But if your circumstances are not too good, maybe those doing that are today too young to remember the role West Africans generally played to get them to the state that they are in today. Maybe they were too young, maybe they didn't see it, maybe it's just in the history books for them. But if we were to look at things carefully and with that level of dispassionate mindset, we probably come to that conclusion that the African is not the enemy of the South African. And so we should not be the target
Counsel,
of the economic difficulties.
My worry is that we have all established that this act has not been in existence in just this 5 years or 10 years. It has been there for so many years, more than 30 years or so. And this is not the first time it has been, I mean, it's happening to even a Ghanaian out there. Is it a failure on the authorities in South Africa to punish the people who are caught doing some of these things? Or is just much ado about nothing, so nobody really cares about this sort of act? What must be done to ensure that this is curtailed?
So I think what we need to recognize is that because it's typically a mass lawlessness, the authorities have taken the view that appealing to the senses of the frustrated masses is a better way of dealing with the matters than law enforcement cracking down, cracking the whip on these persons and arresting, and then prosecuting those who are found foul of the law. We do not hear much of those arrested, those prosecuted, and those who are or ought to suffer the penalties and the kind of crimes. If you remember, I think about 10 years ago or so, when it happened, there were mass killings. They were slashing people, killing and stealing and robbing in broad daylight. But when these things happen and you do not see stiffer punishment being meted out, it rather becomes a reinforcing motivation for them to repeat it anytime they are frustrated. But then again, in public order, sometimes it is also a good strategy to simply overlook some of these things because it's a buildup of anger. Sometimes if you decide to go so hard on the people, it rather backfires. So I think it should be a balancing act for the authorities to find solutions and at the same time ensure that those who perpetrate these crimes are told in their faces that what they are doing is wrong and that they would face the penalties under the law. So you may have to confront it from all angles so you don't get things out of control. So there is no single solution to this. It's a holistic thing that ought to be done to contain the entire situation rather than simply arresting and prosecuting. While doing that, you should also ensure that those looking for jobs are supported. Those that require some other forms of social support are given those necessary support systems. You do it from all angles. That way, you may not have this repeated going forward.
Council, thank you. Let's end it here. We'll keep our eyes on the development. The Foreign Affairs Minister has assured Ghanaians that they will ensure that things are done properly and the lives of Ghanaians out there will be safe. Let's leave it there. We'll keep our eyes on it anyway. But let's jump into the next conversation. And I'm going to start with you as well because I need your legal expertise on all of this discussion. So stay with me. Let me just illustrate to our viewers what we have gotten so far as this whole OSP and Attorney General brouhaha is concerned. Now, we are fully aware, if you have been following the media platforms, you are fully aware that a week ago, the High Court ruled that, look, for the OSP to continue prosecuting, they ought to get some authorization from the Attorney General. That has actually led to some controversies here and there. Even in Parliament, the minority in Parliament, they have waded into the conversation and they feel that, look, this is a way of trying to push out the office of the special prosecutor. Some 12 CSOs have also waded into the whole debate. But let me just share with you, and I'll illustrate that on the screens. We know that 12 CSOs are against this particular ruling. Which institutions are we talking about? You can mention CDD Ghana. They are up there in that particular petition. You can talk about Imani Ghana. They also appended their signature to it. Transparency International. You can talk about EduWatch Ghana, Star Ghana, Ghana Anti-Corruption Agency, and quite a host of them. So you can see them on the screen. Democracy Hub, Parliamentary Network Africa. You also have NOSAC and also Pen Plus Bytes, all coming together to sign a petition. But what exactly is their reason for this petition? They've stated quite a number of them. I'll just summarize them. One, they mentioned that the Attorney General lacks motivation to tackle corruption. That's what they have stated in their petition. Two, they mentioned that the OSP Act aligns with the Constitution. And three, they mentioned that the OSP derives authority from the Attorney General. Again, they mentioned that the High Court exceeded its jurisdiction. And the other point they made is that the elected officers must act in national interest. Basically, that's what the 12 CSOs have put together on paper. But if you just oppose that to the many calls that, well, we have resourced the office of the special prosecutor all these years. what significant steps, or I mean, win have we gotten so far from all of this? We look at the OSP's output. One, they've been able to recover 35 million Ghana cedis. If that is, I stand to be corrected on that though. But what we have gathered is that 35 million Ghana cedis have been recovered. Then some 7.18 billion Ghana cedis loss averted. And that is quite significant if you put these monies together. That's a lot of money that will aid the state kitty. But Council, let me start with you. With all that we have said, and you listen to the CSOs as well, what exactly is the situation? Where do you stand with regards to these two parties involved?
It's a rather very simple question. I don't think it is too complicated. Let's remember in the year 2017-18, when the new Patriotic Party came into office, the whole idea was that the Attorney General's office was incapable of fighting corruption, at least not within our current political systems. Prior to that, in the year 2012, all stakeholders, including political parties, all the major political parties, in fact, all political parties, had pledged to amend our constitution. And one of the cardinal drivers was the fight against corruption. And in that light, the consensus was for us to decouple the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice, so that we will have an independent institution to fight not only crime, but corruption as well, devoid of political influence. Indeed, I offered another opinion that we could have a completely independent director of public prosecution who could not be, or who should not be under the tutelage of the Attorney General. And that is also a workable thing. Indeed, that happens all over. We have an independent director of public prosecution. In fact, they may not call it director because he is the director because he's within the ministry. But we have a DPP in almost every country. I mean, the UK and other countries have them. And they are not under the control of any minister. They work independently. They do as they please by way of fighting crime and corruption inclusive. So when it became apparent from 2012 to 2017 that we could not amend the constitution to reflect these objectives that we had all outlined for ourselves, the president then thought that a stopgap measure was the establishment of the OSP. Now, remember, this was a stopgap measure. It was not supposed to be a permanent thing. I mean, institution to fight corruption. A stopgap because we had still not been able to amend the constitution to reflect these consensus that we had built coming into 2017. And so, naturally, we were confronted with the difficulty of Article 88. How could you have an independent person? Independence here is simply a person who will not be under the control of the executive, but who will be able to work perfectly and efficiently with guaranteed tenure of office without any political influence, either from an opposition or within government. Now, I need to point out at this moment that the OSP did not self-create. It did not evolve. It was created by the Attorney General's office, if you like, the executive. To be independent of the executive, the act was drawn by the executive. And the struggle was to find this independence. Now, as you mentioned, we have all other institutions that have prosecutorial powers. So we looked at all of them and we decided that there must be a way that the OSP can have its independence and not be seen as what IOCO, what the Ghana Police Service, and what all the other institutions have. We wanted something unique, something different, something special. And I can say with all the energy in me that we achieved exactly that by the act that established the OSP. We gave it the level of independence that it needed. We expressly authorized it under the law to have the authority and permission, consent of the Attorney General to prosecute without having to go to the AG's office periodically for any form of consent. And so because of that, if you see the LI that came to operationalize the OSP's office, there was no need to even talk about the acquisition of consent or authorization, which has been the typical way of authorizing other institutions by the use of either an LI or a CI or an EI or any of the subsidiary legislations which may be employed. In effect, there was no need to go for yet another subsidiary legislation simply to grant the OSP authorization. It wouldn't make any sense. This is how we created OSP.
So, Council,
a special unit.
You land on that for me, then I can come back into studio.
Very well. So now this is what I was concluding on. Having done all this, and if you read the memorandum that accompanied the act, it is clear on the face of it. And just for those uninitiated, the memorandum explains an act or a bill and gives it the purpose. So typically, and the hazard, of course, so typically, when interpreting an act of parliament and one finds any difficulty, a court is allowed to rely on the Hansard and the memorandum to come to an understanding. Now, the cardinal principle of interpretation is that you do not interpret any act to defeat the purpose or the essence for which it was established. The moment you do that, you would have failed your act of interpretation or application of the law. Now, let me end here and then I'll wait.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on a second. I'll come back. Sorry, I think I lost it earlier. But Geoffrey, let me come back to you on this. Now, I listened to counsel and he has explained into details all of what there is to know. And if you look at the mandate of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, 4 core functions. 1, investigation. 2, prosecution. 3, asset recovery. And 4, prevention. Why do we even find ourselves here? I didn't see your institution append their signature to what the 12 CSOs have done. Why anyway?
I do not agree with them.
Why?
Because the problem is poor diagnostic. I mean, the system was sick. We tried to heal it with another complicated route. Look, the 4 functions of the OSP you mentioned, how different is that? Are those from the IOCO's task? How different are those from the task of charge? Okay, how different are they? So clearly, the problem we had was that we thought that we were having a backlog of cases. People thought there was politicization of cases. So we said, oh, people were crying that the AG's office was overloaded with cases. They had challenges. The rules of justice that they say grind slowly. At a point we saw that maybe there was no wheel at all, or that maybe the wheel had a puncture. So people were crying all around the place. And then what we could have done is what my brother just said. Heal the system by decoupling, like he said. The two, the AG and the
OSP.
No, it was Attorney General's Department and what justice, I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you just need to decouple the two and let one stand firm. Look, you can add, I'm not being sarcastic here, you can add 10 more anti-corruption agencies. Grant them whatever you think. At the end of the day, if you don't fix the real issue is to have somebody who is independent. The real issue is to stop, playing around the issue that we don't, pretending we don't know what the problem is. The problem is to accelerate work. Do the people working on the cases have the capacity? At one point or the other, it was a matter that we had to provide resources for the OSP's office. And those were the same complaints that the OSP's office had, was the same complaints that the AG's office also had. Capacity challenge, resources, the same problem. So you were shifting the problem from one office to the next office. And so you were doing virtually nothing. The technicalities exist. Look, this lacuna where we find ourselves, that people say, oh, the 12 CSOs are going to correct. The truth is in the Constitution, 88. It's there. It is there. Strong point. The AG is the one to give any other institution prosecutorial powers. Other institutions do the same. So you see where we went. We've gone, like I said, we've gone back again. Just like Yoko will do, just like Shraj will do. You've added another OSP's office. We thought, some of us, even though we heard from the beginning that, look, it was more like a duplication, we wanted to see whether that one will help. After how many years? The OSP's office, how many years has it been there? The first one we got was epistles. The OSP, the office holder, was writing epistles for us. The next one was singing and crying to us. I'm not mocking it, but I'm telling you the truth. How did that benefit us? The amount of money you said he has recouped, if that is all we get, do you know the amount of money that have been stolen from us? We are talking about billions of dollars, and you are there talking about.
But you can't belittle that stride they have chalked as well. But Geoffrey, my other concern.
You think Yoko couldn't have chalked the same?
Well, that's fair.
You think empowering the AG's office and decoupling the two, like my brother said, couldn't have? Let me tell you what, in all the systems being put in place, principle, ethics.
And that is where my next point is, that why must it take us all these years to identify the gaps that we are looking at this time?
Well, it didn't take us years.
The new government, the NDC government is almost, a year and over in office. Why didn't they realize this loophole in this whole dispensation of whatever rule by the OSP right after taking over office? I don't know if you get it. Why were they unable to identify this gap where they ought to have corrected it even in the first year? Mind you, Operation Recover All Loans is still on the table.
Yes. You see, like I've said, I would like to stay on ethics and social justice. The ethics of the game. If you got a person, it's unfortunate that I hear of the OSP. I'm sure if he had the opportunity over these years, something would have been done by now.
So it's about the person.
It is about people who hold the office.
Okay.
It's the people, and you see, the people are working under authority. You see, if you see the president has a power to give to the AG to follow some of the issues. The AG, you get them in one place, they share the same problem. Capacity challenges, resources, and then also the independence to operate.
Okay.
That space.
I don't know how viable that would be. I'll come back to, Council Justice Abdullahi to react to that. But Bright, let me step to you on this one. Your take on it, especially the minority in Parliament. They oppose that ruling by the High Court, and they also make mention of the fact that this is just a plot to take out the special prosecutor. So it looks as though it's the person and not the setup.
Well, Randy, I think where we find ourselves currently, it's quite unfortunate for us as a country. You see, let me just touch on something that you mentioned earlier about what's in connection with the xenophobic attack. You asked what we should do internally.
Yeah.
You see, what we are talking about here right now about corruption is one of the things that as politicians, when we get the chance to lead this country, we need to be candid with Ghanaians, and we need to fight corruption with every strength that we have in our bones. And you see, when we wake up to stories like this, where we find the AG fighting another investigative body, of which, when you look at the trajectory of things, that same office was used to set up this office to have all the powers that it needs to be able to help in the fight of corruption. It's like it begs a lot of questions. See, we in the minority, or we the MPP, has said that when you look at the sequence of events, it is clear in our minds that the NDC wants to cripple the authority of the OSP, just because that in this particular dispensation that we find ourselves, there are gradually issues of corruption or some mismanagements coming up here and there, whereas they feel that if the OSP should be left to continue his work in that regard, he would be able to come after the appointees. I can cite issues about the recent investigation being done by the 4 estates, where we know that persons like you and I can just write to the OSP that we feel that they should go and look into some of these sourcing issues several times. And I've made that assertion that if President John Dramani Mahama in his legacy term is serious about fighting corruption, Dominic Ayini, Honorable, should be reshuffled. This man has demonstrated to us that he has no basis staying in the AG's office. And I'll give you this. When we in 2017 set up the OSP office, he was the first person to have taken Martin Abidi to court.
Okay.
Clearly, he opposed that. Let me give you the recent happenings. On the 3rd of December, when Mr. Martin Pebu was arrested by the OSP, he went to the OSP to go and do his own thing. And upon his arrival, he got suspended. That was on the 3rd of December. The following day, on the floor of Parliament, 4th December, we have the Honorable Dafia Makpo and the majority leader mentioned categorically on the floor of Parliament that the OSP's office had outlived its usefulness. All this while before they being majority in Parliament, they never made mention of that fact. It was just after the arrest of Mr. Martin Pebu, who was an apostle or part of the team that we all like the oral team. He was part of it and was suspended or detained by the OSP. It was just after that these two gentlemen made such statements like on the floor of Parliament. 3, in that same December, we had the bill, because they had already opined that they were going to take steps to bring a bill to come and scrap the office of the OSP. That same December, they brought a bill to Parliament. It took the president's word to come out and say that they should be at the OSP's office. He doesn't think should be scrapped.
And that is commitment enough.
No, I'm coming.
Because if the president himself should step in,
I'm coming,
and say no, I won't agree to this, that is commitment.
We all know how some of these things work. There's this gentleman called Nwatete. If you and I didn't know him, yes, we would have believed that yes, this is like an independent person or like a citizen of this country who wants to question the authority of this thing. But we all know in this country that Nwatete works in the law firm of the deputy AG. And this man was the one in that same December who had filed to the Supreme Court to challenge the authority of the OSP in December. And on April 8th, we had the Attorney General's office filing a case in support of what Nwatete, who happens to be working in the same office, the law firm as the deputy AG, in support of that case.
But the law is the law.
I'm coming.
It's
Randy,
just like for
Randy, relax. I'm trying to give you a reason why we believe that this thing was thought out well, and that is what we are trying to do.
Yes, it could be your thoughts.
Randy, I'm coming.
I just want to make a point clear that for a fact that I work for WoezorTV, I work at WoezorTV, and my boss is the deputy chief of staff, doesn't mean that I can't sit on TV and criticize the government when they are wrong. Independently, I think. Independently, I have conscience. I see things for myself. So if for a fact, like you're mentioning, that the Nwatete works in the law firm of the Deputy Attorney General, right? There is nothing wrong if he also sees anything wrong and decides to file a petition or right against it.
No, so this is, see, it was made us to believe that, oh, this was some private person, like sitting somewhere who are just waiting to the courts to seek some of these clarifications. No, I'm just giving you a background of who that person is. And this is the case where we had the Attorney General's office also filing in support of what this Wateta had done. Fast forward, April 15th, we had the High Court's rule that the OSP should be stripped of its prosecutorial powers. Let me tell you this, in this country, we cannot only rely on the AG's office to fight corruption, especially this particular AG. Let me give you why. When he came into office, there were people who were like already facing trial. What did he do with that? If indeed he wants us to believe that he can really fight office and he wants to, because you remember that Dr. Shemsai had publicly said that they were going to take over the cases of the OSP and all of that. What kind of commitment did they show to Ghanaians that they were really going to fight corruption? One, they came to meet the issue of Dr. Stephen Kuni, the Cocoa Board issue. What did they do first off? They filed what? Nolli prosequi. They discontinued the case. Mr. Kwabnado, for what did they do? They told him to keep 60% and bring the country, like another percentage of the monies owed to this country. Bank of Ghana governor, right now, Mr. I'm coming. Oh, Randy, relax. Bank of Ghana governor, Mr. Lakesiama, also his case that was pending, they filed Nolli prosequi. Honorable Collins, that owed us 2 million Seglamit project. What did they do? They filed Nolli prosequi. So indeed, Geoffrey, we cannot, the AG cannot convince us that if they are giving the OSP's role or like the cases that he's handling, he will be fair enough to fight it. And we've always said that the AG's office is a political one. And these instances is what justifies that claim that because we do not need a political office to help us fight corruption, we need an independent body. And that is where the OSP comes in. When we're in government, in 2017, when Mr. Martin Amidu has started investigating Mr. Kenufrata in this country, there was no one in MPP, even though we were in government, questioning the authority and the prosecutorial powers of the OSP. In fact, when he resigned, eventually after calling Nanado the mother serpent of corruption, did you hear Nanado or any other person here calling for the scrap or even questioning the authority of the OSP's office? No. Mr. Gofredami took over somewhere in a second term. Whilst he was investigating Madam Cecilia Dapa, the OSP, Mr. Gofredami was doing his own investigations. In any case, even before that, the OSP had already come out with a ruling about the investigation that he did with the president's brother concerning the Airbus scandal. The NDC referred to Ghanaians about that George Omani Mama was free. The president was free. This whole Airbus scandal thing. At the time that he was investigating and was going, came out with that findings, did the NDC question his authority or also his prosecutorial powers? Why now? Why are they trying to do it? Don't forget that one of the reasons why the NPP lost the elections abysmally was because of this Madam Cecilia Dapa's issue that contributed to that. They blew the issue out of proportion. Later on, the OSP came to...
Oh, that affected the party?
It did.
Okay.
Geoffrey here seated here cannot tell me that that particular incident was not part of the reason why we lost as a country. No. So that's what I'm saying. No, it was the OSP's investigation that came out later to say that yes, all the allegations around that woman was null and void and that she had not stolen any money. But I'm saying that when the OSP was after Madam Cecilia Dapa, we had the NDC in this country. Did they question the authorization of the OSP or his powers to prosecute? Okay. Why are they doing that now? So clearly, the AG for me has no locus and he has not demonstrated enough. In any case, the current issue going on that he has with Kwabena Dufour, his chief, the woman that he has elected to be his chief witness, is in court testifying against him. Clearly, this man has lost the fight against corruption, and one would want to wonder that instead of the very NDC party that has constituted an oral group, and what is this OSP office supposed to do? Also help in fighting corruption. Okay, this is the time for them to even put their things together to help in the fight. Why come after that office?
I'll come back so we wrap up on this quickly, but let me go back onto the phone lines and pick the concluding remarks of Justice Abdullah. And Justice, I want you to react to what Geoffrey suggested or recommended, that there should be some sort of measure, the OSP, Shiraj, and any other anti-graft, IOCO, any other anti-graft institution. Would that really even work, knowing so well that we've had all these institutions all these years? Hello, Justice, are you there? Justice Abdullahi. Okay. I don't seem to hear Justice Abdullahi, but the conversation is on the OSP versus the Attorney General. We're asking independence or interference. What next? As some 12 CSOs are billed to, file a petition against that particular ruling. They feel, and to a large extent, the minority in Parliament believe that it's just a plot to oust the special prosecutor from office. Is it about the person or the institution? Let's try one more time with Justice Abdullahi, if indeed we have him. Okay, no, I would have to try and establish contacts with him again. But let me come back to you quickly on this. Geoffrey, now you look at everything that has been going on. I am also worried about the fact that they have ruled that the cases that they are already prosecuting, they have prosecuted, comes to, it's null and void. There are pertinent cases. For instance, the Ken Ofori-Atta case is still lingering on in my mind. Recently, Mustafa Hamid, we were told that they also ask questions about the competence of the SP or the special prosecutor sitting on this particular case, or, still following this case. We know where this case has gotten to. The effect of this ruling on some of these cases.
So it's about systems and personalities, and what my brother just said. He helped my side when he said, like, about the current Attorney General. He was looking at his efforts and his energy and competence. So for me, that's why I always said that I wanted to see the energy from the individual. If you have the right person in the right office, you get the results. If you have the right systems, you get the results. And we said Honorable Mustafa Hamid also mentioned in quick question the OSPs make. But I've said the 88, beyond that one, the OSP's own law that brought it to office stated that when he wanted to prosecute, he needed to get the powers from the Attorney General. So I wonder how such a document existed, and over the years he was giving the free hand to operate. For me, as an anti-corruption agent, once I support that we should still go after the people, it's proper to use the right system and the right laws. If the Supreme Court gives a ruling on this one, I'm sure it will help us. But how did we get here? If we had the three arms, the three organizations, OSP, Shiraj, and Yoko, and they are blowing to the fullest, and you have merged them, it won't mean that any of them will stop operating. Look, we've put money in the OSP office. My brother, you said they have recovered how much? Please, go and look at what we have also put in there and do value for money.
Because I think in 2023 there was 129 million CD cents there.
Yes.
2024 there was about 149 million, and I think 2025 it came down to 146 million. Yeah, so
look, if we had the same money and we are giving that same money to support the operations of Honorable Dr. Godfrey Dami at the time, and we are giving him a lot more of state officials to work with, look, you would wonder how we would have gotten the results. The problem is not about creating more institutions. Ghana, it is not about, you can create 1,000 institutions. If they are not strong and they are not working right, you will not get the results. We have some institutions in this country, people don't even think that they should be existing. For me, I've not said you should scrap off the OSP's office. I think when you merge all of them, like we didn't scrap off IRS, we didn't scrap off customer service and preventive services. When we got them together, they are still working in separation. As in, they are in one office building, they are one together in one organization, but the organogram is working such that they are all working together to achieve one goal of collecting taxes for us. But in the past, they were standing all alone. We merged them and we saw the results. It didn't just come as a measure, cost cutting, where results was there. You see, the OSP for how many years has it been there? Is this the results you were expecting? Has it given you the results you want? Personally, son of a poor Bankusela, I'm saying when I saw corruption, wherever date you want to start with, the number of issues that you want to talk about, his operations has given us some results. But I am not satisfied with the results so far. So far, not so very bad, but not so very good. It's okay. But if you ask me, I would merge the three And I'm telling you, what has this got to do? What impact of this whole issue have had on our governance system? It has created an avoidable, delay, which is actually, going to affect the Attorney General's department and the results we were expecting. Okay, like my brother said, is it not time to be working on something else? And now we are having this back and forth. That's delay. It's created an exit route, a motivation for offenders. Whether they are right or wrong, now they're also saying, look, the first ones, because you didn't use the right route, we can also go out because it is not, social justice and the bias. The bias always is turning that, look, what we have seen over the years is, whether you like it or not, a few times we've had the sitting government punish their own. But the fact remains, people had the perception that, look, it was when the new government comes and the AG would rather be looking for the past government officials to go and knock them down. That's what people have thought, and that's the perceptions out there. You can agree or disagree. That is what the public justice believes. The loss of trust in governance, that's another impact on governance. Because people have lost trust. Look, over the years, we were in this country, people had, growing up, when they say judge, lawyer, the perceptions I had about them, after watching the announced video, I had a different mindset altogether. My auntie's husband is Chief Justice Apalu. Okay. So right here in Abilimpe, they are next door to you. Growing up, seeing some judges and lawyers around it, some of us, we had. But today, the way I see a Makola phone thief whisked to court and jailed in 24 hours or 48 hours, the young man who went to steal the medicine from the counter, he's been jailed a year. And those who are set to take 10 million, 4 million, they will come and start doing the rules of justice.
You know what? Something came to mind.
Is there any
when I was coming to work, something came to mind. I'm like, why do you worry the young man who has a roll of herb in his bag? You arrest him, go and put him in jail, but you are unable to arrest the man who has taken our billions away.
You trap Abu Trika and say that he's the one who nobody is supporting fraud or crime or crime, but he's the one you have put in handcuff, moving him up and down.
Okay, but the real thief is out there.
The people who have stolen the state's money, they are working. And let us not politicize issues of crime.
Okay.
When there's a wrongdoing, the state institutions are there.
Okay.
Let them investigate. Look, there's one thing calling somebody, and let's do it properly. If you invite the person, let's be smart. You don't need 48 hours to be interviewing one man. Look, that level, look, you can take me on any day. But I'm telling you humbly, if you are a smart investigator, look, you invite the gentleman, before even you invite the gentleman, you should have done some works already and checks already. So you are inviting him to question him. What are you standing on to question him? That means you have some evidence already. And you are running around something. If it's a search warrant you want, go to the courts early on. When the person comes, move with the person to their apartment and search them and bring some results. This thing of keeping people 72 hours, moving Rambo style, then the car arrives. My brother, if you wanted to watch movies, we'll buy them from the main.
WoezorTV got you saved.
Let us get the issues right.
Okay,
follow the court cases. Make sure that this rules of justice grind slowly. Me, the frequency. Now I'm asking, is there any will under our justice?
Okay.
Because it looks as if it's either the rules have been removed or the rule itself has a puncher. Okay. Because when it is a choco boy or it is a Machagona boy who stole phone, then the matter goes to court. The guy who went to buy drugs and then realized that the chemist turned around and ran away with the drugs, they grabbed him, no mercy, 1 year. But they should do the same thing to those who are in also suits.
Okay.
Let them also feel the justice and bring our money. Recouping is important. Don't go and create another OSP. Look, the next one will be CVP or MDD. We will come to the square one if we don't handle issues of capacity, issues of resources, and giving them that freedom, that independence to operate. That is the most important.
Okay.
The anger of the average Ghanaian.
Jeffrey, thank you.
Is up.
Thank you. Salah, maybe you should get that song, Suit and Tie, from Stoneboy. After the show, you drop that one. Bright, I'll come to you for your concluding part. But this message from Abraham in Huawei, and Abraham says, this wave of xenophobia in South Africa is driven by perceptions that Ghanaians are taking their jobs, straining public services, but these sentiments are fueled by greedy politicians in South Africa seeking to deflect attention of their citizens from the country's real issues like unemployment, inequality, and poor governance. Okay, Abraham, yeah. And one says South Africa needs to confront their authority rather than launching attacks on other immigrants, especially Ghanaians. All right, thanks for your message. Afokafui in Ho also says, good morning. Please, if the OSP is not performing well, then I think the head should be sacked and replaced by a competent person. All right, Kafui from Ho sent in that one. BI, good morning. I hope you are keeping the pack well. Anyway, so Bright, let's conclude this quickly. Maybe your final words in the next 1 minute. Yeah,
so just to help my brother Geoffrey about the budgetary allocation sent to the OSP, like I was mentioning earlier. So in 2023, there was 129.5 million cedis, 2024, 149 million cedis, and 2025, 146. This year, 158 million cedis. So clearly, yes, one could question the deliverables, as opposed to the amount of money that has been sent to the office and the results that we've seen so far. Yes, clearly, I feel that it's at variance. And that is something that we can look at. I personally had even questioned the conduct of Mr. Kise Japin at some point, and I felt that I think he needs to kind of have a change in the style of duty. But then that does not warrant me to say that that office should be scrapped. I think that is where we are getting all wrong. The fact that yes, we may have, so I'm like, it's an institution and it's a human managed institution. There can be some issues here and there, and we can all come around the table to have a conversation about it. But that does not mean that we should call for the scrap of that office, especially when the very person who is heading the AG has not demonstrated to us that he is indeed ready to fight corruption, especially and I'm like in relation to the cases that he came to meet. Randy, just to wrap up, I am saying that when it comes to the fight of corruption, as a people, we shouldn't politicize it, like my brother Geoffrey was saying. Today, there are still issues ongoing with some of our past appointees. I wouldn't say that just because I'm an MPP, they should put those cases behind. Let's take them to through the process. If it comes out that they are free, yes, we should set them free. But if it comes out that yes, they've actually done some wrong to the state and some money needs to be recovered, I'm like in accordance with the law. Okay. But we should also forget that the OSP was a new creation. That one, you see, the OSP too was a new creation.
No, so we can do that comparison with the.
No, but we noticed that. Have you noticed that?
Okay, gentlemen, rather unfortunately, we need to go. There is another program.
The Shaj has kept.
Oh yes.
The Shaj is one I can vouch and put my head on the line for. Shaj.
Very well. Very well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. Bright, Shandov Bright, Opoku Buama is a member of the New Patriotic Party. Some of the young guys helping the party as far as reorganization is concerned. Charlie, we are following you. You are doing well.
I'm sure you're going to contest for one of the positions.
Are you?
We are still monitoring. We are still monitoring. We've had calls from some senior members of the party, and we are still in talks. So, as and when it becomes necessary, maybe we will come and put this. But for now, we are still helping the cause of the New Patriotic Party.
Very well.
Charlie, in politics, you don't win from the back.
I know.
All right, so Bright, thank you. And as always, Geoffrey Okanse Kabute is the Executive Director, Revenue Mobilization Africa. He always joins us here on WoezorTV as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. Earlier, we had Justice Abdullahi. He's a private legal practitioner. He joined us via phone, but unfortunately, along the line, we lost him. But I want to believe that he said quite a number of things on the two topics this morning. Watch out for the repeat of the dialogue tomorrow and also Sunday as well. Let me say a very big thanks to